who walks into a shelter and says, "Show me the oldest dog you have. The one no one wants. The one everyone ignored." What kind of person does that? The kind this world needs more of. This is the story of Leslie. And two souls who got saved because of her heart. Before we begin, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. It was July 24th. Just another regular day at Asheville Humane Society. Dogs barking, phones ringing, volunteers cleaning kennels. No one expected anything special. Until Leslie walked in. She wasn't like the others. She didn't ask to see the puppies. She didn't look for the friendliest dog. Or the cutest face. Instead, she asked for the dog no one wanted. The oldest one. The most overlooked. Even if it was sick. Even if it was ugly. Even if it was broken. The staff just stood there for a moment. Because people don't say things like that every day. The staff took a deep breath. Then they led Leslie down the hall. Past all the excited tails and hopeful faces. Until they reached the very last kennel. Inside was Sam. 7 years old. 6 months in this shelter. Adopted once, but brought back just a month later. Her skin told a story of its own. Severe allergies had left her covered in patches. Some places bald, some covered in rough, scaly skin. She wasn't pretty. Not in the way most people expect a dog to be. But her eyes were still searching for love. And in that moment, Leslie knew she had found the one. But just as Leslie was ready to say yes to Sam, the staff hesitated for a second. Like there was something more they needed to tell her. That's when they mentioned Brutus. 13 years old. Surrendered by the only family he ever knew. Given up to be euthanized. Because he was too old, too sick. Too much trouble. He had severe separation anxiety. He couldn't handle being left alone. And he had been waiting for months. Day after day, he watched families walk past his kennel. Never stopping. Never asking about him. It was like Brutus had already decided. He didn't belong anywhere anymore. But Leslie. She wasn't ready to let that happen. As Leslie stood there. Between Sam and Brutus. The staff didn't know. She was already carrying her own grief. Just a few months earlier, Leslie and her family had said goodbye. To their own senior dog. The house had felt empty ever since. His bed still in the corner. His leash still hanging by the door. The pain was still fresh. But for Leslie and her family, the answer wasn't to close their hearts. It was to open them even wider. Because sometimes, the best way to heal is to save someone else who's hurting too. Leslie could have signed the papers, taken Sam's leash, and walked out the door. No one would have blamed her. Sam needed her. And that was enough. But then, she looked at Brutus. He wasn't barking. He wasn't wagging his tail. He was just sitting there. Head down. Like he already knew how this story ends. And that's when Leslie said the words that no one expected. "We can't leave him behind." Because for Leslie, saving one life was never going to be enough. The room went quiet. The staff looked at each other. Like they couldn't believe what they just heard. Because people say all kinds of things in shelters. But almost no one asked to take home the two dogs. With the longest stays. The hardest stories. And the most broken hearts. But Leslie didn't even hesitate. She signed the papers for both. One hand holding Sam's leash. The other reaching for Brutus. And for the first time in a long time, both dogs walked out of that shelter. Together. There were tears from the staff, from the volunteers. And from Leslie too. But this time, they were happy tears. Leslie's house was big. 3 stories tall. 2 acres of open yard. Plenty of space to run, to rest, to just be dogs again. But what made it special wasn't the size. It was the love waiting inside. As she walked Sam and Brutus to her car, she leaned down and whispered to both of them, No more waiting by the door. No more fear. You're home now. And for the first time in a long time, they believed it. This wasn't the first time Leslie opened her heart like this. Over the years, she's taken in more than 50 dogs. Always the ones nobody wanted. The old ones? The sick ones? The ones people walked past without a second look. Because Leslie knows something most people forget. Old dogs love differently. It's not the kind of love that comes with tricks or games. It's quiet. Grateful. The kind of love that says, "Thank you for seeing me." And right now, in shelters everywhere, there's another Sam. And another Brutus. Waiting for someone like Leslie. Not everyone can adopt. But maybe you can foster. If fostering isn't possible, maybe you can donate. And if nothing else, you can share stories like this. Because every shelter has a Sam. And every shelter has a Brutus. Waiting quietly. For someone to see them. For someone to believe they still matter. Sometimes, a second chance starts with just one share. This is what love looks like.